Oh, yeah, Harrison Ford, take a look at what I get every day, whether I want it or not. And God love him, I swear to God, Harrison Ford has no idea who I am.
America loved Regis Philbin for 30 years, but what they didn't know was happening behind the cameras. In 2023, sealed court documents revealed that ABC paid $275 million to silence 11 former employees. The money went through a secret shell company. Each person signed contracts worth up to $1 million to never speak about what really happened on set. One wardrobe assistant got $365,000 and lifetime health coverage. When 3 people finally broke their silence after Regis died, the truth was uglier than anyone imagined. This isn't the morning show you remember. On September 10, 1988, something unusual happened on American television. A small local program from WABC-TV in New York, called The Morning Show, suddenly appeared on nearly 200 stations across the country. It wasn't backed by ABC News, nor was it a major network push. Instead, it was a bold experiment that changed everything. The show was renamed Live with Regis and Kathy Lee, and became the first time ABC allowed one of its owned stations to syndicate a show nationally without using its news division. The move came after late 1987 strategy meetings revealed something surprising. Research showed the local version of the show was actually beating NBC's Today Show in its first half hour in New York, the biggest TV market in the country. Executives saw a chance to copy that success across the country. Because it came from the entertainment division and not the news department, the producers avoided costly union rules. They were able to make a full hour of live TV for less than half the cost of Good Morning America. It was a risky bet. Instead of using the national ad team, WABC had to sell the ads locally, meaning if it failed, it would hit their own budget hard. But the gamble worked. Just 6 weeks in, ratings among women aged 25 to 54 jumped 25%. Most of the new viewers came from CBS's week morning program. ABC had to rent more satellite time so stations out west could air the show at the right time without losing quality. What started as a local experiment turned into a nationwide shakeup of morning television. When WABC hired Regis Philbin to host the original version of the show in 1983, most people in the industry didn't expect much. He had hosted several national shows, but all of them were canceled after 1 season. He even had a short-lived talk show in San Diego that only lasted 4 months. At 51, he had no long-term contract and no regular income. So when he accepted a local morning show with no connection to the network, many thought it was a quiet ending to his career. The station even put it at 9 a.m. to avoid direct competition with Today, trying to protect themselves from another flop. But things turned around fast. By May 1984, ratings in New York showed his show beating both Good Morning America and Donahue. That success earned him a new contract and took him off the list of permanent guest hosts. The local morning slot, which once seemed like a last chance, became the launchpad that finally gave him national fame. He went on to log more hours on air than anyone else in broadcast history. Kathy Lee Gifford's path to co-hosting was just as unlikely. Back in 1979, she auditioned for Charlie's Angels and got rejected on the spot. The casting agent told her they were looking for someone gorgeous, like Jaclyn Smith, basically telling her she wasn't good-looking enough for TV. In a 2024 interview, she said she was sick with fever that day, but laughed as she left the room. It was her first taste of how cruel Hollywood could be. When she later auditioned to join Regis in 1988, ABC executives worried she was too cheerful for the show's tone, so they only gave her a 6-week trial when Cindy Garvey left. Producers even planned to rotate in other female guests until the ad buyers gave feedback. But something unexpected happened. Viewer mail spiked. and local ratings went up 12% in just her first month. The same people who had doubted her now had no choice but to lock in the partnership. That chemistry became iconic and changed morning television for a whole generation. Even the producers didn't see the magic coming. A notebook entry from summer 1988 shows they thought the pairing was temporary. They planned to revisit in 13 weeks. Gifford had done Christian music specials. Philbin was grumpy and dry. It didn't seem like a match. Behind the scenes, they had even set up different lighting designs in case viewers complained about the look of the show. But their clashing personalities became the secret sauce. She would burst into song, he'd grumble back. The audience loved it. The host chat at the beginning of the show, which was supposed to last 8 minutes, kept running longer. But producers let it slide because ratings showed people didn't change the channel. What was meant to be temporary turned into one of the longest on-air duos in TV history. The show didn't just surprise people with its chemistry, it was built on a shockingly low budget. ABC's own records show that the set was built in a second-floor room meant for children's puppet shows. It cost less than $50,000. They reused props from old election sets and bought furniture from thrift stores over one weekend. The ceiling was so low, only 12 feet, that the lighting guy had to hang lights from office shelves instead of a proper rig. That saved another $18,000. They even borrowed graphics equipment from another show and swapped chips manually before going live at 9 a.m. For catering, they skipped in-house services and just sent interns to buy bagels down the street. Regis even joked on air that they survived on sage green walls and Saint Viateur carbs. Yet all of that DIY creativity led to a show that cost less for an entire week than today cost for a single episode. And it still beat them in ratings. On September 5, 1988, Buena Vista Television, Disney's syndication arm, launched the show nationally. It went from airing only in New York to appearing in 124 markets overnight. By the end of 1990, it was in more than 200 markets, reaching 98% of households. No daytime show had ever spread that fast without network support. Disney gave stations 5 out of 7 local ad minutes and covered all promotion costs, which smaller stations usually had to pay themselves. They spent almost $12 million on marketing in the first 18 months, the kind of budget usually saved for big primetime shows. But it worked. By November 1989, the show was ranked number 1 among women 25 to 54 in 117 cities. By 1991, top stations were paying $60,000 per episode to air the show, 3 times more than they paid just 3 years earlier. Between 1990 and 1992, Live didn't just win its time slot, it dominated it. Nielsen numbers show that in February 1991, the show averaged a 5.4 household rating and a 22 share in 212 cities. In the key demo of women aged 18 to 49, it hit a 6.1 rating. That was 40% higher than the closest competition, even beating other ABC shows. Some ABC stations had to move their own network programs to protect this goldmine. On February 11, 1998, the show aired a special segment where Regis got a colonoscopy on live TV. That one stunt drew an 8.0 rating and 30 share in New York alone. It was the highest number for a local morning show since the replay of the royal wedding in 1981. When Disney bought ABC fully in 1995, it folded Live into its massive corporate machine. Financial reports from that time show the show making $114 million a year. That included $74 million from ads, $17 million from international licensing, and $23 million from Disney-related promotions like theme park events and cruise packages. Disney used smart bundling to raise ad rates. A 30-second spot that cost $24,000 in 1994 went up to $36,500 in 1997. That 52% increase was even higher than what Oprah or Donahue achieved. In a 1997 earnings call, Disney credited Live with generating over a quarter of all profit for Buena Vista's TV division. By the mid-1990s, the shiny image of Live with Regis and Kathie Lee began to crack. It started in June 1996, when human rights investigator Charles Kernighan exposed a shocking secret. He revealed that girls as young as 13 were sewing Kathie Lee-branded dresses in a Honduran factory for only 31 cents an hour. They were forced to work 70-hour weeks, endured strip searches, and were even hit for talking. Many had to give up their education. The clothes were part of the Kathie Lee collection, which was already bringing in about $300 million a year in sales for Walmart. To make sure the story hit hard, Kernighan sent 2 handwritten warning letters straight to WABC's lobby, knowing Kathie Lee would see them while live on the air. On June 14, 1996, she broke down in tears, claiming she had no idea. Soon after, it was discovered that Walmart had quietly moved production to Nicaragua months earlier, leaving the Honduran girls without 4 weeks of pay. The fallout was brutal. Kathie Lee's Q score, a measure of likability that drives endorsements, dropped from 25 to 14 in just 1 week. Within 48 hours, more than 40 advertisers, including Carnival Cruise Lines, pulled out. For the first time, the feel-good morning show looked connected to something ugly, and viewers noticed the cracks behind its sunny image. But there was more brewing behind the cameras. Internal ABC memos from 1995 show Regis Philbin growing frustrated with Kathie Lee's constant on-air stories about her children, Cody and Cassidy. One memo dated May 3, 1995, complained that he couldn't get a single joke in because she had spent 5 straight minutes talking about teething. A leaked network report showed that these family-heavy segments led to 11% of viewers changing the channel in the key 25 to 54 female age group. Regis pushed the show's producer, Michael Gelman, to limit kid chatter to just 2 minutes, warning that the show's ratings momentum since 1988 was slipping away before the first commercial break. Although these memos were never aired publicly, reporters quickly picked up on them, sparking rumors that the show's chemistry was not as smooth as it seemed. Then came the scandal that no one could avoid. On May 14, 1997, the tabloid Globe published photos of Kathie Lee's husband, NFL legend Frank Gifford, in a hotel suite with 46-year-old flight attendant Susan Johnson. The tabloid had even paid Johnson and a private detective to secretly film them. They then threatened to release the tape unless Kathie Lee agreed to an exclusive interview. The very next day, Regis had to open the show alone, telling 20 million viewers that Kathie Lee was taking a personal day. She returned on May 20th, spending 11 minutes crying on air and thanking Regis for protecting her children from the headlines. That episode hit a 9.8 household rating, 18% higher than the season average, but it came at a price. More than 4,200 viewers called in to complain about what they saw as voyeuristic misery. Advertisers got nervous again, with Clairol pulling a hair color campaign that cost the show $325,000. Behind the scenes, Regis kept his distance from Kathie Lee, avoiding their usual hand-holding for nearly 6 weeks. Staff noticed the shift, and the once easy banter between the two seemed badly bruised. The tension wasn't only personal. Former segment producer Lisa Birnbach remembered a heated moment in March 1996 when Kathie Lee demanded that boy band 98 Degrees sing 2 songs instead of 1. Regis quickly shot back that if they performed twice, he wanted a stand-up comic on the show to balance it out. By 1997, arguments like that were common. Production notes from the year show 37 guest segments canceled or rearranged after on-set disputes. In one email, Gelman warned that Julia Roberts refused to return after witnessing a host argument. Staff turnover hit 28%, twice the daytime TV average, as crew members grew tired of the constant power struggles. Things got so bad that in November 1997, ABC brought in a conflict resolution consultant, a step usually reserved for primetime dramas, not morning talk shows. Money then became the next battleground. In February 1998, when talks for a new syndication deal began, Regis learned that Kathy Lee was making $7 million a year, $2 million more than him. This stung, given that he had logged over 15,000 on-air hours, a Guinness record, and was credited with delivering the big interviews that affiliates promoted heavily. Backed by surveys showing his popularity at 72% compared to her 51%, Regis demanded pay parity. His agent Jim Grucho pushed for a 3-year deal worth $45 million, along with retroactive parity. ABC threatened to replace him with guest hosts, but Regis fought back, even skipping a May 11th promo shoot, which forced the network to air commercials with only a blurred silhouette of him. Disney's CEO Michael Eisner eventually stepped in just weeks before the July deadline, approving a $15 million per year contract to match Kathy Lee's salary. It raised the show's costs by 21%. Though the deal kept him on air, insiders saw a chill set in. Regis stuck to reading cue cards word for word, avoiding Kathy Lee's ad-libs. Their partnership, once built on charm, now seemed held together by contracts and accountants. When Kathy Lee finally left in 2000, Kelly Ripa stepped in. But her time on the show brought its own struggles. For her first 4 seasons, from 2001 to 2005, her office was a former janitor's closet on the 2nd floor of ABC's studios. It had no windows, an exposed mop sink, and a single folding chair. While Regis had a spacious corner office with cedar wardrobes and a private dressing lounge, Kelly was left to balance her laptop on an industrial cleaning cart whenever the room filled with supplies. Even when executives finally gave her a desk in 2005, they simply bolted it to the same wall. She stayed there until Regis retired in 2011. Stagehands often joked about the difference, noting that Regis had a gold-leafed nameplate while Kelly had a post-it. Her pregnancy years brought more challenges. During 2001, 2002, and again in 2003-2004, Kelly had to rush up to 8 times an hour to a public bathroom on the 6th floor that she shared with 200 audience members. Meanwhile, Regis had a private restroom just 2 doors from the stage. She recalled throwing up in the sink while tourists wearing INY hats asked for selfies. In May 2003, she was even held behind a rope by security during a VIP tour, left waiting while visibly pregnant. When she asked about having her own restroom, ABC's lawyer warned her it could be seen as special treatment, even though today it would clearly violate pregnancy discrimination rules. From the start, Kelly was reminded of her lower rank. On January 11, 2001, the day she was officially offered the co-host spot, her agent was told, "They want you to know who your boss is." That phrase was repeated to her again on her very first day. Just before her debut broadcast on February 5, 2001, Regis saw her arrive with her hair and makeup team and joked off camera, "Oh, Gelman, it's got an entourage." Crew members laughed, but Kelly later said it felt like a branding iron, a reminder she would always be seen as the junior partner, no matter how successful the show became. For much of her first decade, she was excluded from major creative decisions. She often discovered guest lineups only when reading the teleprompter live. She would walk onto the stage to see themed sets she hadn't known about. In 2010, when she asked about joining the affiliate tour schedule, a producer emailed back that they didn't want to muddy the waters because she was talent. In one case, ABC Standard staff even labeled a memo Host 1 for Regis and Stand-in for Kelly. She kept it in her journal as proof of how the show treated her. For years, the studio garage told the story without saying a word. Regis Philbin's parking spot was only 20 paces from Stage 4's side door. It was sheltered and freshly painted twice a year. Kelly Ripa, on the other hand, had to park in the public lot on 66th Street, a 4-minute walk through Manhattan winters. Inside the building, the gap grew wider. In 2005, Regis's dressing room budget topped $85,000. It included a daily sushi chef and 2 full-time valets. Kelly's update cost only $9,200, mostly a fresh coat of paint, and she was told to bring her own snacks. Female associate producers say they were denied courier service for wardrobe runs that their male peers received right away. Instead, they had to drag 50-pound garment bags through the subway after 14-hour taping days. Even the perks carried a clear split. Male hosts picked limo colors and call times. Women got a MetroCard. In 2009, payroll records leaked, showing male on-air talent received an average of $2,150 each week as an appearance prep stipend. Women averaged $180, a 13-to-1 gap. Staffers later revealed this was no accident. It was written into the show's 1999 operating manual, which described Regis as the primary talent entitled to priority resources, while co-hosts were called secondary support. The manual stayed that way until 2011, 6 months after Regis stepped down. Former segment producer Dana remembers Monday mornings that set the tone. At 6 a.m., Regis and 3 senior male executives met to go over the weekend's golf rounds before planning the show. Female producers were never invited, even when the meeting included their own segments. Between 2003 and 2010, official minutes recorded 472 production decisions about guest bookings, budgets, and theme weeks. Women appeared in less than 8% of them. One junior booker submitted an interview proposal for Michelle Obama. The men dismissed it, saying the First Lady would not score ratings like NFL stars. When she pushed back, she was reassigned to audience wrangling. A Harvard study later showed that male-to-male networking could explain up to 40% of promotion gaps. Liv followed that pattern exactly. Between 2002 and 2010, every promotion above line producer went to a man. The exclusion was open. In 2007, a Christmas party invite read, "No +1s unless you swing a 9-iron." Crew members still recall January 12, 2006. During a break, a teleprompter froze. Regis shouted, "Are you illiterate morons?" and slammed the script against a camera lens so hard it cracked the matte box. The studio audience heard every word. A camera assistant named Luis was told to apologize for making Regis look bad. Though the fault was a software glitch, other reports tell similar stories. On April 3, 2008, Regis scolded a 23-year-old intern on stage for mispronouncing Guy Fieri's name, calling him stupid. On November 17, 2009, he threw a stapler that stuck in a curtain inches from a lighting tech's head. Researchers classify these moments as verbal assaults that destroy psychological safety. Several crew members asked for transfers. 2 filed OSHA complaints for continued public humiliation. None were upheld. The network explained the incidents as creative intensity. Internal memos from ABC's 2017 lawsuit show how carefully the publicity team prepared when TMZ reported harassment rumors on May 4, 2011. A 27-page message discipline playbook split every possible reporter question into green, yellow, and red categories with scripted answers. Executives rehearsed response timing. If a negative segment ran longer than 90 seconds on Entertainment Tonight, the team immediately sent out 200,000 highlight reels of Regis giving back before the late news. Tracking sheets show the plan worked. Nielsen ratings for the week of May 9, 2011, dropped only 4%, about half what ABC Research had predicted. One clause in the memo warned staff not to mention Regis's pending contract expiration. Executives believed the idea of turnover caused bigger rating drops than misconduct stories. By mid-June, the memo declared success, noting ratings stabilized and urging a shift to the narrative of national treasure fatigue. In April 2023, sealed ledgers surfaced during ABC's discovery process. They confirmed what insiders had whispered for years. From 2002 until Regis's farewell in November 2011, the network sent at least $2.75 million through a Delaware shell company called Foggy Day Productions, LLC. The money went to 11 former live employees, each agreement tied to a 14-page non-disclosure contract. One settlement dated August 12, 2007, gave a wardrobe assistant $365,000 plus lifetime health coverage. In return, she promised never to share allegations that Regis had created a hostile or sexually charged workplace. The contracts carried penalty clauses of $1 million per breach, an unusually high figure outside the defense industry. After Regis's death in 2020, 3 recipients broke their silence. ABC threatened to claw back the funds, but whistleblower lawyers called it an empty bluff. The records made clear the strategy: pay enough to secure silence while keeping the amounts low enough to avoid SEC reporting rules. The show also turned to celebrity voices. Within a day of the TMZ report, Kathie Lee Gifford received a request from ABC's crisis team. They asked her to appear on Today and deliver a 25-second defense of Regis's Irish Catholic warmth. On May 5, 2011, NBC cameras showed her doing exactly that. Booking records reveal she was just the first. Over the next 10 days, the network lined up 17 more friendly voices, from Alex Trebek to Kelly Osbourne. Each received first-class flights and $10,000 as an appearance coordination honorarium. A Gallup poll that month showed Regis's trustworthy score among women aged 25 to 54 rose 11 points after the testimonials. A June 2011 memo even floated the idea of a cameo by Archbishop Timothy Dolan to frame Regis as a family man of faith. It never happened, but it showed how far the team was willing to go. In the end, the warm words looked less like loyalty and more like a carefully built defense plan. By January 2011, after nearly 30 years as the face of daytime television, ABC executives were growing uneasy about Regis Philbin's future on the morning talk show. He was 79 years old and had gone through triple bypass surgery in 2007 and a hip replacement in 2009. Those health struggles left the network worried about what might happen during the live broadcasts. Industry sources later revealed that behind closed doors, executives talked about the risk of him facing a medical emergency on air or making mistakes that could damage the show and its valuable advertising slots. In February 2011, a confidential assessment was drafted calling Philbin a liability beyond the next season. It recommended that he step down to protect ratings and keep advertisers confident. When Philbin went on live with Regis and Kelly on January 18, 2011, and announced his retirement, many viewers believed it was his decision. In truth, it was the result of months of planning and negotiation by the network, not a spontaneous choice from the host himself. Kelly Ripa had already been navigating her own uphill battle behind the scenes. After Kathie Lee Gifford left in July 2000, Ripa faced tough contract talks before becoming Philbin's permanent co-host. Executives handed her a strict list of rules, which included using Philbin's hair and makeup team, no wardrobe services, no paid maternity leave, and only a cubicle instead of a private office. For someone whose name was tied to the show, These terms were almost unheard of. In her book, Livewire, Long-Winded Short Stories, she recalled being told by ABC daytime president Angela Shapiro to know who your boss is, a warning that made clear where the power stood. Yet Ripa managed to slowly gain ground. She secured small budget increases, space for her own branded segments, and even veto rights over guests. By 2005, memos inside the network showed she had gone from underdog to essential partner, placing herself in a strong position for the day Philbin would eventually leave. When Philbin's farewell finally came on November 18, 2011, the broadcast looked like a celebration, drawing the show's highest ratings in 2 years. The two-part special featured celebrity cameos and a reunion with Kathy Lee Gifford. But much of what aired was carefully shaped to hide the reality of his final months. According to production notes, producers cut out moments where Philbin spoke openly about feeling pushed aside by the network and showed frustration with Ripa. A long monologue where he reflected on the struggles of aging in television was also trimmed so the broadcast would fit into its 2-hour slot. Executive producer Michael Gelman and ABC's daytime division insisted the special stay upbeat, even rejecting suggestions for a more balanced look back. The result was a polished send-off that gave viewers a version of events very different from what had been happening behind the scenes. In the years that followed, Philbin didn't stay quiet about how he felt. During a 2017 interview on Larry King Now, he claimed that Ripa had been very offended by his departure. He repeated this idea in several other interviews, hinting that she had been secretly glad to see him go rather than eager to honor his career. He also suggested that the reason he had never been invited back as a guest host was because of her. These comments gained traction in entertainment news throughout 2017 and came up again in 2025, with outlets like Entertainment Tonight reporting his claims. Insiders said the ongoing remarks gave advertisers and affiliates the impression that Ripa's leadership of the show was shaped more by personal feelings than professionalism.